What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 7 of the Bat Boy, the Emergency podcast / video. Today is Thursday night. I am recording a special episode. Generally, these are released on Mondays. This one's going to be released on Friday because we have big news. World Baseball Classic rosters were announced tonight on MLB Network. I wanted to do a live reaction. However, I couldn't really figure out how to do it with television rights and all that, so I just didn't even mess with it. These rosters are absolutely loaded. I will say that. Most of them. Some of them are rather weak, which they always are. But the big ones, the U.S., Japan, DR, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, Mexico, some of these rosters are freaking loaded. And I want to give all the credit to Aaron Judge. I don't know if it's him, but it seems once he announced that he was playing, everybody was like, let's go play in this. I have never seen this many superstar big leaguers commit to the World Baseball Classic. And one thing that's shocking, actually, you know what? I'll get into that later. I'm not even going to get into that. I don't want to do anything right now. So, I'm just going to jump right into it. I pulled up, 7 of the rosters that I think just stand out and just want to go through them. Really want to talk about the United States, but I'm going to talk about them last because frankly, it's the United States, and that's what people want to hear, so you got to stay for the whole episode. Alright, I'm going to start with Team Japan. This one's interesting. I don't know many of these people. I never really do, but I know they're always really, really good. And most of these players wind up in the major leagues. Obviously, you got Shohei Ohtani. He's being there. He did announce that he's not going to pitch, and he said it was his own decision. It wasn't the Dodgers' decision. They don't really need him to pitch, and I think that was kind of out of respect for the Dodgers organization, also for him. So I applaud him for that. He is going to be the DH. He is, along with Aaron Judge, the best player in the tournament. But the rest of the team, I don't know most of these people. One thing I did read leading into it, not today, but leading into it, is that this team is very similar to the Japanese teams that they always roll out for the World Baseball Classic. And they're always pretty dominant. However, the other countries usually aren't as dominant as they are. So I don't know. It's going to be actually really interesting to see how this Japanese team competes with the U.S. and the Dominican Republic and Venezuela fully loaded, which is pretty much what they are. You have Okamoto, you have Murakami, you got Seiya Suzuki, you got Yamamoto pitching, you got Yusei Kikuchi pitching. And outside of that, I don't know most of these people. Most of these people play in the NPB. They don't play here. So we don't have a lot of info on a lot of these guys. And I haven't done my research. I will do my research for my actual preview pod for the World Baseball Classic closer to the actual start of the tournament. This is just instant reaction. And I'll be honest, I don't know very many of these people. They got Ohtani. It's going to be cool to see Okamoto and Murakami as they've signed large deals to play in the U.S. this season. So we get a little preview of those guys. Okamoto for Toronto and Murakami for the White Sox. Outside of them, let's watch the Ohtani show and see if they can actually compete with the true U.S. teams and the true Dominican Republic teams. Let's see what they got. They're usually pretty dominant. But this isn't the teams of old, as I'm going to repeat over and over again throughout this episode. Dominican Republic. We're going to go to them next. I think, on paper, this is probably the best lineup. This is probably the best lineup in the tournament. We'll get to the rest later. It's loaded. Austin Wells at catcher. I get to watch Austin Wells 162 games a year, and he is the weak link on that team, and they got a catcher on the bench who I think is better than him. But we'll get to that. But just go around the diamond. Vladimir Guerrero, Ketel Marte, Geraldo Perdomo, Manny Machado, Juan Soto, Julio Rodriguez, Fernando Tatis Jr. Junior Caminero, DHing. Looking at this bench, O'Neal Cruz, Jeremy Pena, Augustin Ramirez, who I think is an up-and-coming catcher who is not very far away from being discussed as the best catcher in the sport. Ahmed Rosario, Carlos Santana. They're loaded. They're loaded. They usually are. These guys generally show out for the World Baseball Classic. Dominican Republic doesn't usually have a difficult time getting their people to play. It's generally the U.S. that has a hard time getting their people to buy in. But this team is loaded up. You got Juan Soto, you got Julio, you got Fernando Tatis. I would say behind Aaron Judge is the next best 3 outfielders in baseball, probably. Vladimir Guerrero, Ketel Marte is the best second baseman. Vladimir Guerrero is probably the best first baseman. Manny Machado's not what he once was, but still damn good. Junior Caminero, a stud. And then you get into the pitching, Sandy Alcantara, Christopher Sanchez, Brian Bayo, Luis Severino. Luis Severino seems like he's the odd man out here. Just doesn't fit into the rest of that batch. But bullpen is where I think they're going to have some trouble. I don't think their bullpen is built as strongly as some of these other countries. This team is loaded, as most of them are. Julio Rodriguez is probably the best center fielder in the sport. Juan Soto playing left. We know his struggles on defense, but we also know what he brings on offense. Fernando Tatis is a Platinum Glove winner, as well as one of the best offensive powerhouses in the sport, Vladimir Guerrero. We can go on and on. We could talk about these guys over and over again. These aren't people that we really need to dissect. We know how good each and every one of them are. And we know how good this team is going to be. Next up, Team Venezuela. Their team, this is a group of players that I truly didn't know that most of them were from Venezuela. But when you look at this roster, ridiculous. A lot better than I thought they were going to be. And I think this graphic is misleading because there's a couple players on the bench that I think are going to end up playing. I think they put Salvi Perez in there, a catcher, as you've earned it over the course of your career, so you should be in this graphic for us. But they got William Contreras. He's the best catcher in Major League Baseball right now. So if he's not playing, I don't know what to tell you. Same thing at first, like Luis Arias, awesome leadoff hitter. He's an awesome leadoff hitter. He's one of the best contact bat-to-ball guys in the sport. He just is. He's what the 90s love about bat-to-ball skills. But he doesn't provide any power. He's terrible on defense, and he's slow. You got Wilson Contreras on the bench. Wilson Contreras is playing first. And William Contreras, you got the Contreras brothers. They are on the field. Gleyber Torres at second. No problems. Andres Jimenez at short. I like Ezequiel Tovar more, who is listed as a bench player. Jimenez is probably going to play. I mean, he's a Platinum Glove winner also. His bat is not great. He's probably one of the best defensive shortstops we've seen in quite some time, actually. Michael Garcia, no qualms there. Ronald Acuna Jr., obviously, no problem with that. Jackson Chourio, Wilyer Abreu. That outfield is nuts. Absolutely nuts. Pitching, a little top-heavy. Pablo Lopez and Ranger Suarez, awesome. Both very good. Gets a little dicey behind that. Eduardo Rodriguez, German Marquez, and Antonio Senzatella. Not great. This is another one where I think this team is going to have no problem scoring runs, have no problem on defense if Arias is not playing. But first base, you can mask some bad defense at first base for the most part, especially in a short tournament like this where you're only playing a dozen games. That bullpen and the starting pitcher behind Suarez, they are going to struggle, especially against some of these lineups that some of these other countries are putting out. Those three behind them are going to struggle, and that bullpen is going to have a hard time. It just is. Yeah. I think they're going to be good. I don't know if they've released the pools yet. I'll get into actual predictions once that happens and we see who's playing who in group play. But for right now, I think this is going to be an awesome offense and a terrible pitching staff. Next, Team Mexico. All right. This is another team that's better than I thought it was going to be. It's certainly not as deep as some of the other countries, and certainly not as top-heavy either. But they got some guys that can be extremely good, but could be coming off some down years. Jaron Duran, I'm looking at you. Ramon Urias is solid. Jonathan Aranda, another one, coming off a little bit of a down year. Pitching is dicey again. But Alejandro Kirk, Luis Urias, Ramon Urias, no problems with them. Joey Ortiz is a very good shortstop. And then the outfield is solid. Alec Thomas, Jarren Duran, Arandia Rosarena. That's a good outfield. This team is not going to be able to compete with DR or US or probably even Japan. But this is a better team than I thought it was going to be. Andres Munoz, you got probably the best closer in the sport. But getting to him is going to be difficult. It's going to be very difficult. And that bench is weak. The bench is very weak. So there's not a whole lot of depth. But like I said, for what I was expecting to see out of Team Mexico, this is a very solid team. This is a good baseball team. It's just not the all-star teams that we're going to see from the other guys. The Netherlands. Normally, I wouldn't even discuss this team. However, Sir Didi is back. Okay? We all know I'm a Yankee fan. That's very clear. I feel like I do a fairly good job of putting that aside and being unbiased here. But I am so excited to get to watch Didi Gregorius play baseball again. I don't know how good. I think he's like 37 now. I don't know if he's going to be any good. I have no idea. But God, I miss seeing him in the Bronx, and I am very excited to see him. All right. And also, Jonathan Scope. I don't even know what happened to him. He had one big year in Baltimore, and then I'm pretty sure he went to San Diego and disappeared. He pretty much ate off 1 year, and no clue what happened to him after that. Ozzie Albies, Xander Bogaerts. Bogaerts is on the backside of his career. Ozzie Albies, solid. Ceddanne Rafaela. I'm probably saying that wrong. I don't really know how to pronounce his first name, but he's an excellent center fielder. Jerickson Profar, that's a solid player right there. You look at this pitching staff, I don't know who any of these people are. Kenley Jansen. That's it. I don't know who any of these other people are. I don't know any of the starters. Nothing. So I have no idea what their pitching staff is going to look like. Their offense looks like kind of a mid-tier Major League Baseball team. Maybe not even. Maybe like bottom third offense. I only pointed this one out because I really want to see Didi play again. I miss Didi. He was everything that Anthony Volpe wants to be. He was the guy that stepped in for the captain and was excellent. Had a huge moment in a wild card round. I think it was 2017? Might have been 2017. When he hit the 3-1 home run in the first inning to tie the game after they let up 3 in the top of the first. Just huge moment. I love everything about Didi. Yeah, I got nothing else to say about him. Yeah, I'm going to watch them just so I could see him play. I pray to God that he is starting. And judging by the bench, I don't know who those people are. They got one utility infielder. Or one utility player. Outside of that guy, they don't even have another third baseman on the roster. So, go Didi. Puerto Rico. Not sure what to say here. Team is solid. I'm not going to lie. Team is very solid. You got Martin Maldonado. Okay. Christian Vasquez as a DH. That's not ideal. Julio Ramos, MJ Melendez, and Eddie Rosario in the outfield. Okay. Yeah. Nolan Arenado. Not Nolan Arenado that he used to be. Willie Castro. Very solid player. Kind of not really what you need here. He's a great utility player in Major League Baseball. If he's your starting second baseman and arguably one of the best players on your team, judging by this roster, that's not good. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about this team. I don't know most of these pitchers. I know some of them, obviously, but I don't know most of them. I think they're going to struggle. I think this is probably the worst. Actually, I think the Netherlands is actually better than this team. I would say this is the worst team that I am going to talk about here, but it's one of the major countries that generally produces some good Major League Baseball players. I just don't know if they didn't come. Francisco Lindor. That's the one that I was anticipating. Lindor's not there. I don't know why he decided not to play. I don't know if it was a Mets thing. I don't know if it was a personal thing. I'm pretty sure he generally plays. But not seeing him, that takes a wind out of the sail of the Puerto Rico team last but not least. Sorry if that was lame. Team United States. Okay. The reason that I have gotten so exceptionally excited about this tournament is because of this roster. In years past, yes, we've seen Mike Trout play. Yes, we've seen Nolan Arenado play for Team USA, which is weird now he's playing for Puerto Rico, but he probably knew that he wouldn't even make this roster. This roster is going to make this tournament so much fun. The U.S., and it's not just baseball, the U.S. in every sport, whether it's the Olympics, whether it's any sort of international competition, United States struggle to get their superstars to buy into anything. They just do. I don't know why. But we saw it flip at the Olympics a couple years ago when LeBron and Steph decided to join up and go play in the Olympics and bring a squad of superstars with them. I don't know if that's what started this, but whatever it was, that was the first time I saw the best players of the sport, the best players of the country, join forces in an unpaid international competition. I'm sure they get money from something, but generally speaking, it's supposed to be an unpaid international competition of pride that we saw the big superstars commit to. And then Aaron Judge said, I'm going to go play for Team USA. And then we get to see Cal Raleigh, Bryce Harper, Gunnar Henderson, Bobby Witt Jr., Alex Bregman, Corbin Carroll, Byron Buxton, Kyle Schwarber, Pete Crow Armstrong, Will Smith, Paul Skeens, and Tarek Skubal. The two best pitchers on planet Earth pitching for the United States of America. And then Logan Webb, Joe Ryan, Matthew Boyd. Bullpen is questionable. I will say they didn't get some of the big-time closers to buy in. You could have just brought Cleveland's bullpen, if we're being honest. But David Bednar, nothing. He's a Yankee closer, so go Yankees. Clay Holmes, Griffin Jacks, solid. Brad Keller, Clayton Kershaw, I love seeing him on this roster. I know he's not going to play a big role, but I love seeing him here. Nolan McLean, it's going to be his breakout party. Garrett Whitlock, yes, sign me up for Garrett Whitlock. Mason Miller, sure. Incredible. Yeah, this roster, like, trying to put this into a top 9 for a lineup is going to be something special. It's going to be something special. I don't know how they're going to figure it out. I would prefer to see Pete Crow Armstrong at center over Byron Buxton. I don't know why, just preference. Nothing wrong with Buxton. I think he's good. I think Pete Crow Armstrong showed a lot this past year. And personally, I think I'd rather see Will Smith, the catcher, but Cal Raleigh's going to hit you some home runs and do not much else. Bryce Harper at first. Gunnar Henderson, stud. Bobby Witt, stud. Alex Bregman, stud. Aaron Judge, best player in the sport. Best offensive player in the sport. I think because of the pitching staff, because of Paul Skeens and Tarek Skubal, that I think this is the best roster in the tournament. I think Dominican Republic is very close. But Dominican Republic, where's that tab? Sandy Alcantara, Christopher Sanchez, and Brian Bayo. Up next to Paul Skeens, Tarek Skubal, and Logan Webb, or Joe Ryan, whichever one you want to throw in number 3. That's not even close. Over the past 2 years, because that's the only sample size we have of Paul Skeens, which is even more blasphemous that he's 23 years old. And he hasn't even had actually 2 full seasons. I think he's had 50 starts instead of the usual 64. I think he had 20 and then 30. Something like that. And he's, like I said, 23 years old. And he's, in my opinion, separated. He's the best pitcher in the sport. He's the best pitcher on planet Earth. And he's 23 years old, fresh out of college, and hasn't had a season with an ERA over 2 yet. It's wild to say these things out loud. But him and Tarek Skubal are just eons better than the rest of starting pitchers. They've separated themselves. So you put those two, and I think that puts them over. I think that just makes this the best roster in the tournament. You look at this graphic and tell me who is the worst player in this lineup. Because if I tell you my answer, it's going to be laugh out loud funny. Because he's a multiple time MVP. But honestly, I think the worst player in this graphic is Bryce Harper. And I'm a Bryce Harper fan, actually. I didn't used to be. When he was in so I'm in the DC area, and him coming up in DC turned me off of him quite a bit because of the fans around here. I just couldn't stand it. As he's gotten older, and as I've gotten older, I think we're actually about the same age, I've grown to appreciate him. I've grown to admire his baseball ability and his personality, because the personality was something I didn't like much in the beginning. But Bryce Harper, over the course of his career, he's a Hall of Famer to me. The fact that he was being touted as a Hall of Famer at 16 years old. I'm a huge golf guy. I've watched Tiger go through that. Being hailed as godsend when you were a teenager. I watched LeBron go through that. And trust me, Bryce Harper is not on the level of Tiger or LeBron, because those two guys stand alone in their sports. But having that pressure on you at that age is difficult. And I attribute some of his personality quirks in the beginning of his career to that. And I've grown to appreciate him. All that being said, I think he's the worst player in this starting 9. Shockingly. Maybe Buxton. But Cal Raleigh, he's going to hit home runs. Yeah. I would say between Bryce Harper and Cal Raleigh, those are the two odd men out. The thing is, Cal Raleigh's position is limited. You're limited at that position, whereas there are other first basemen that are better than Bryce Harper from the United States. Anyway, instant reaction. I think United States has the best roster. The question with the United States is always the desire and the drive and the motivation and the determination to show out in a competition like this. We haven't seen it much in baseball, but I'm just going by other sports. U.S. just doesn't buy into these type of competitions the way other countries do. This team might be different. This team, you got Aaron Judge, and you can say what you want about Judge. You could say what you want about the Yankees. He is, alongside Shohei, the most polarizing figure in the sport. So you get that guy, and they're not from the same country. Ohtani's going to get his boys riled up. Japan never has any issue with their desire to beat the United States at anything. So there's no problem there. Aaron Judge is going to get these boys fired up. I think. I hope. If he does, this is going to be a fun World Baseball Classic. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed this instant reaction. I will do another preview closer to the launch of the tournament with pool play, schedules, and whatnot, and breakdown and predictions, and all of that fun as we get closer to the tournament. I don't know the exact day. I still got all the team previews coming out. I got a lot coming up until opening day. But until then, get ready, because this is going to be fun. This is going to be a fun tournament. If you like baseball and you like international competition as much as I do, this is going to be a ton of fun. Alright, see you guys next week.